I am getting very fed up with the lack of details that the police and the government have been telling us about the shooting that took place in Nova Scotia. I have been, myself and Seamus, Little Grey Cells, and a couple others have been going into a lot of examination of this situation that took place, because for those who don't know, I'm sure this is probably going to be a recap for a lot of you, but for those who don't know, this shooting is personal, because Seamus and I have a friend, a mutual friend, Concan, that I'm sure many of you, if not all, are aware of. And in the shooting, she lost her brother, her sister-in-law, and her niece to this crazy gunman. So we have been doing everything we can to get to the bottom of this, to try and get the answers for her, especially because she's been telling us and been very public about how she's been not getting answers from the government and the RCMP themselves. And someone working for the RCMP in the coroner had to actually break protocol to give her some information. She learned about most of the details not from the RCMP, but by harassing them and by friends of the family who have been able to get little pieces of detail. So we're doing everything we can. And the more and more we look into this, the more and more this is getting even crazier. And I mean that it looks like there's a bigger cover-up that is going on by the RCMP and the government. Now, the main thing that I personally have been focused on has been the timeline. I just started off because, it's good detail to know where did people die, what went down. And when I was looking in the timeline, nothing was adding up. Nothing was adding up to the official timeline. In fact, the timeline released by the RCMP is complete horseshit. It is god-awful. They tell you absolutely nothing. They gloss over hours where they just cover the same thing. Between this time and this time, there were 9 people killed. One of my biggest things about the timeline is I want to know is, what the hell did this guy do between midnight and 8 a.m.? Because there's just this huge 8-hour gap where apparently this was an ongoing situation, an ongoing killing spree, but they have no idea of what's going on. They haven't given us anything during that time frame. And that to me is suspicious, because that means most of the killing spree, we don't even know what happened. But even with the details that we do know, when I start mapping it out and I start looking at the distance that he traveled, and I look at how much time it took him and when these situations end up going down, it's not adding up. So I'm just going to be focusing strictly on the timeline right now. So here is the timeline that was presented by CBC. And as you can see, they don't have anything after 11:30 until 8 a.m. And it seems to be about midnight is the last time that we hear anything whatsoever. But the RCMP tweeted out at 11:30 that they were responding to a firearms complaint. Apparently, the shooting started at about 10:30, and yet things that don't add up. For instance, one is... where are you? No. Is this guy here, who is Clinton Ellison. Now, Clinton, it's very unfortunate, but Clinton lost his brother in this shooting. His brother ended up going to try and help in Portapique when he saw a fire, and he ended up getting gunned down in the street. Now, Clinton was chased down by the gunman, and he ended up staying in the forest for 4 hours to try and escape him, and thankfully he did. But there's something interesting that Clinton ends up saying, is they said they heard the first gunshots after 10, and yet they're saying that, even in this timeline, they're saying the shooting started at 10:30. Now, I get it that they're kind of doing an estimation, like Clinton's probably doing an estimation. But the point is that they said that they heard the shooting at around 10 p.m. and that's when his brother went out to investigate, and Clinton ended up going out after him a little while later because his brother didn't end up coming back. His brother didn't end up calling them or anything. But the point is that this is before the shooting apparently started to take place, when they're hearing the first shots. And the RCMP haven't updated this as far as I can tell. They're still saying the shooting ended up starting at 10:30, so that's not adding up right off the start. Another thing that is worth wondering when it comes to the, not so much the timeline, but about the competency of the RCMP, is that how did Wortman get out of this area? Because, you know what, I'm going to switch over to display capture. There we go, so you can see everything. Because when we look at the area where the shooting started, and this is more or less being confirmed as to where Concan's brother was living. Now, this guy, Gabriel Wortman, was one of the neighbors that lived in this area, and he had a few different houses all over the place, but this is where the shooting happened. This is more or less a one-way, there's no turns, really, unless you're going into different houses in this street. You're pretty much stuck in there, and we know that the RCMP had at least, a few of them at least, had this street cordoned off. They had the exits cordoned off, while a bunch more sat back in town for some reason. Apparently there was a whole bunch of them. But Wortman got out of this area. He got out of this area of Portapique right here. Which means, as far as Seamus and I can tell, that he was let out by the RCMP themselves because he had access to, I don't care what anybody tells me, that is an authentic RCMP vehicle. So they had access to an authentic uniform that's been confirmed. So because he looked like a cop, they let him go, and let him go to continue his shooting spree. But that apparently took place somewhere between 11:30 and 8 a.m. because we have no fucking idea what happened in that time. But again, even the details that we do know don't add up. Let's see. So that was that. Okay. So I've only got a specific area. I'm just going to redo this because I kind of messed it up. So we'll say about, yeah, that's about right. All right. So there's a specific reason. This is only part near the end of when Wortman was doing his rampage. This is only part of it, of his journey, because he made it some 50 kilometers up north. This is where he killed the correctional officers, which it seems like now they're saying that he had some connection to. At least that's what it sounds like. He made it over to Debert, and eventually over to Truro. Now, this is where I'm talking about right here. This is about Millbrook, and that's what I have lined up over here, Millbrook. Now, it's specific for a reason, because this is where he was caught on surveillance camera. And I think we've done a pretty good job mapping this out. But it's this one right here. So there's no volume, but this is where he ended up getting seen by a surveillance camera, where he got out and he changed out of his coat or his vest or something into something else. But I want you to pay close attention to the time up at the top right. We can see the time is 10:55 a.m. on the 19th. And we can confirm where this place is. We did. We put in the work. We've been doing a lot of work over the last few days to try and track this whole thing down. So, put it about right there. And I think we got to go back a little bit. But the few things we're going to look at is you can see that there's this cement block right here. We got the cement block, which we can see is right here. Right outside this little red thing right there. Whatever, a little red cabin or whatever. Another thing we looked for and we sort of discovered, is that if you look over here, there's a house over there. And we have that house over here. And actually, I want to see something else. No, I was kind of seeing if maybe that was our truck, but it doesn't look to be red. What looks like a red pickup truck there. But anyway, we move our way up here because we can't really see from our point of view that this is the house that we saw in the video. You can kind of make out a little bit of the details right there. So we have confirmed that this is the location. This is the location right here of the surveillance camera. So at this point, it is 10:55, right? And he ended up getting killed at 11:40. So 45 minutes from that video being taken at that location to when he made it all the way down to Enfield at the Irving gas station, which we've also confirmed its location. Not hard to do. But we got it right in here. You can tell by the details. All you got to do is pretty much Google Irving gas station in Enfield, and it pops right up. But you can see from the pictures that are available from the gas station that this is it. And we're going to be checking out a video where you can see it a little bit better. We'll just switch over real quick. But you can kind of... We're going back a little bit. But you can make out enough details to see that this is the gas station that we have mapped out. So, we've confirmed where the video was taken. We've confirmed the endpoint. Oh. So now he has, according to the official timeline, he has 45 minutes to get from here down to here. Doable. It's doable though, right? How long will that take him? So according to this time frame, it will take him 40 minutes to get there. So he has 5 minutes to spare before he gets killed. The thing is right here at Shubenacadie is where he ended up killing Corporal Heidi Stevenson. And we've also discovered that location. Wortman car on fire. It's right here. And you can see from the details, we have a video. We have a video here. And you can kind of see a little bit. Not great, but you know, you may get a few details of where it happens to be. And then when we put it in here, we go to Street View. We can kind of make out a few details that add up to it. Alright. So we've got our guardrail here. We've got the sign that can be seen in the video. It may have to get a little bit closer. But we've got our sign right there that says do not enter. And it was around this area. But there's a few other things, even from pictures too. And the main thing is this here. So here is the location where Heidi Stevenson was killed. And if we go back over here, we can confirm that this is where the gazebo is. So we know that this is the area where it happened. So there you can see the gazebo. We can even move up a little bit just to get a better look at it. We've got our gazebo right there. Off in the distance is where the shooting took place. Heidi Stevenson got killed. So now we know that he had to make a stop here. We know he got what seemed to be... he got pitted by Heidi Stevenson, the precision immobilization technique, where you ram a car either from behind or you kind of hit its back quarter in order to spin it out and make it come to a stop. And then this is where Heidi Stevenson ended up getting gunned down. The thing is that where was it? There it is. The thing is now we know that this is the point where he changed cars, because that was one of those cars that is on fire in this video is his car. We can go a little forward, get a little bit more, but that's his car and Heidi Stevenson's car. So he had to get pitted here. He had to get into at least somewhat of a brief shootout with her. He also had to get into a shootout with her partner there, Morrison, I think his name was, the one who got shot in the arm. Because apparently they were driving in different cars. So at one point he also had to do that. And then, also in the video, if we look, I don't think we've passed it yet. We might be able to see it. Give it a second. No, I think we did. But you're going to see someone running away in the background, and we're not sure whether that's Wortman. But that's one of the speculations right now, that if this was Wortman at the scene, he left on foot. And there he is. If you keep an eye, just to the left of the car that's on fire, you can see him run by. Yeah, there you go in the background. One more time for y'all. There he goes. So now he's on foot. And where can he go? He's got to, pretty much from the looks of it, he's got to follow two things he can do. He has to follow the off-ramp all the way down and maybe pick up this silver SUV along the way. Or he's got to run into the trees over here, and maybe he gets the car from one of these houses over here to continue his trek. But the highway is completely taken over by the police at this point, so he's got to sort of go around, make dipsy-doodle to get back onto the road, which is still possible. But it's not an easy task. But the thing is again, he has 5 minutes from the point where he was seen on camera to when he can get to Enfield and get killed. He has 5 minutes to spare, and he's got to do all this in between. He's got to get into this gunfight. He's got to run away. He's got to find a new car. He's got to get back on the road. So even if, let's say, that took 5 minutes, even if, then he's just showing up just in time to get killed. But here's the other problem. Something that was just seemed to be released last night, and I can thank Seamus because he was the one who pointed this in my direction. So now it says over here, soon after the confrontation with two Mounties, Wortman, now driving the silver SUV, was heading through Milford. Police caught up to him at the Irving Big Stop gas station in Enfield at around 11:25. So first of all, even if he was driving non-stop from the point that we saw the video at 10:55, he couldn't have made it there in time, because it would have been 40 minutes just to get there. Even if he was speeding, maybe he could make it there in 30 minutes, but not with everything going around. Not with him getting pitted by Heidi Stevenson and then having to kill her and then run away and get a new car and get back on the road, heading in that direction while avoiding all the cops in the area. Something stinks in this timeline. It seems the shooting started before they ended up saying there's an 8-hour gap at least from 12 a.m. up to 8 a.m. And then even the end point doesn't make sense, because now apparently he's there before he can even show up. It's from... None of this makes any sense. None of it. The timeline does not add up. And that's why it's been my major focus. Because if the timeline doesn't add up, then we can pretty much disprove what the RCMP are telling us. They haven't given any answers really to the family. Even that guy that we saw, hold on, I'll pull him up again. What was his name? Clinton Ellison. Even with him, they took his cell phone. They haven't given it back. He has no way of contacting his family. He's not getting answers. Concan isn't getting answers. And the public isn't getting answers. They've avoided all of these... They've avoided all the tough questions. They shut down the reporters that asked the tough questions. Like in this... this was live streamed on April 22nd, 2020. In this update that they were doing, Frank Magazine started asking them all sorts of tough questions. Oh, right. I should switch over. Yeah. This one here, from the CBC on April 22nd, 2020, Frank Magazine started asking him all these tough questions, and they shut down Frank. There has now been twice that they have refused to come out and on camera give updates and take questions from reporters. One of these guys, one of the RCMP, this guy right here, hold on.
Commander, it's in the...
Yeah, this guy right here, who I think is Leather is his name. I believe that's who it is. Anyway, he's shitting bricks during this interview. He is scared shitless. He's stumbling. He's sweating. He's got all the characteristics of a very nervous person. My guess is because he knows how badly the RCMP fucked up. And this will be something for another day. But if we the way we analyze this, and another situation that took place on that day, has myself, has Seamus, and a couple other of us, has us thinking that one of the reasons they're so nervous is that the RCMP were responsible for the death of Heidi Stevenson, that they fucked up big. That'll be an update that I'll try and bring you tomorrow. If you want it sooner, you can always go check out the live streams over on Seamus's channel, Little Gray Cells, and see what we're talking about. But if you want to look it up for yourself, listen to this video very carefully and what they're being said, and then investigate what happened at the Onslow fire station on the same day. Go look it up. The RCMP fired on the fire station. Open fired when it's been admitted by that police watchdog CERT that Wortman was nowhere in the area. And we think that because here it is. We think that because he was dressed as an RCMP officer, was riding around an RCMP vehicle, and how trigger-happy these guys are, that they may have accidentally gunned down their own cop, and now are trying to cover it up. But there's something in particular that gets said in this video, and one of the reasons. Hold on.
Oh my fuck. This is fucking crazy.
Is he in there?
I'm like shaking. We should move. Like, what if he's alive and he like shoots?
Hold on.
They're dragging him out. Look, they're dragging somebody. Oh my god. That's a
real call, man. He just killed a real cop right in front. Real call, man. He just killed a real cop right in front of us.
Oh my god.
Now that guy says, he just killed a real cop right in front of us. The video seemed to start after the shooting happened. But we have not really seen Wortman. The only thing we know that may possibly be him, but it may not be either, is that there's a guy that then, in the background, ends up running away. But if that was Wortman, why did they let him get away? They had a clean shot to him. There was no civilians around. They could have taken the shot or at least pursued him, but they didn't. And these cops are not really acting in the way like they're in immediate danger. They're not really taking cover, trying to advance too much. And yeah, you see this cop right here on the left-hand side of the tactical vehicle here. He's dragging a body. So, we're not sure. But it looks like Wortman may have left the area at that time. The only thing we have to go on is the person running away in the background right there. But we don't even know if that was him. So that's our theory, and we're going to touch on that more in the next update. Again, you can go and look it up for yourself if you like. But the point is of this video is that the timeline does not match up. The RCMP are hiding something from us. Something huge. And probably what they're trying to hide is how badly they screwed up, and they're worried that if they did let Wortman go at Portapique because he looked like a cop, was dressed like a cop, and drove a police vehicle, then they're culpable for the deaths that ended up taking place after that situation. They are responsible for letting it happen. They've also lied about him. They said he was unknown to police. Turns out he was arrested in 2001 for beating the shit out of a 15-year-old girl. And he also had even been approached about his police cars in the past by the police, who told him that he needs to keep it on I think they said keep it on a trailer or something, but they knew about the cars. And this car is brand spanking new. Look at this thing. That's brand spanking new. What, maybe a 2018 model? My guess. And the thing is what civilian is allowed to have all this? What civilian is allowed to have the lights, allowed to have the RCMP decal, have the 911 decal, the RCMP horse and rider that's there, having police on the side, and what the hell is a brand new purchase sticker doing right in the window? They've already tried to lie about this and say this photo is photoshopped, but it's not, and we proved that on Seamus's channel because Concan's brother had posted pictures a while back where he said he was working in his buddy's garage, and the garage had these exact, in the background here, these exact same shelving units were visible in the picture. Now, her brother was not a friend to Wortman. They actually had a bad run-in, which maybe is one of the reasons that he and his family got targeted. But they had a bad run-in, and I think maybe what was happening is that this guy Wortman brought him over to maybe help him do some work at one point. But the point is that he posted videos of it, and one of the reasons was because Wortman had a bunch of like motorcycles in his garage that he was showing, that Concan's brother was showing. But these right here, those were in the picture, so we can confirm that this was a garage in the area. And this was tweeted out by the RCMP themselves saying, this is Wortman's car. They're lying to us. The timeline doesn't add up. Keep asking questions. Do not believe the official story.